basically import and set up an image on the server itself. So now we got the server pretty much up to in a ready state. What we're going to do is basically we're going to look at kind of like, for the first thing, we need to import the OS itself. So a lot of the things I like about MTT is that it doesn't matter which OS you deploy. It could be Windows Server or basically the desktop. So it doesn't really matter. It could be Windows 7, Windows 8, 8.1, 7, and I believe the previous versions supported XP as well. But right now it only supports the WIM files from Windows 7 to 10. So in order to import and configure this, OS, you want to right-click and select Import Operating Systems. Now, a couple of things it's going to ask you. It's going to basically say, hey, what do you have the source of the files that's in the server? Do you have it somewhere else? If you know where it's located at, it's going to ask you, well, can you show me to where the files are? If the files are in a custom image that you've captured, then you would locate the file itself so that it can import it. And the last is deployment service images. So if the OS itself is actually located on the Windows deployment service, it's going to look for it there and import it. So we're going to basically import the Windows Enterprise OS image. So we're going to click Next. And then it's going to ask you, it needs to know where's the file itself. So it could be network shares, it could be anything. It kind of really depends. So we're going to click Browse. Let me just add it here. So we're going to click there, and then it's going to ask me where's the file at. So since I have it in the drive here, I'm going to go to D drive. I'm going to select OS.
Hello?
Oh, yeah. Hi there. Did you drop off accidentally?
Yeah. No, I had a call, so I missed a big
No
chunk
worries.
of recovery.
No. Yeah, don't worry. We're still running here. So
yeah, and I'm recording it too.
Sorry. So I wanted you to kind of back up a little bit, because like the tools that I used to deploy images was Ghost. Right? I haven't used Windows Windows deployment tools or anything like that to deploy Windows images, right? And so could you show me the console you're using right now to how you got where you're at right now?
Yeah. I don't know if can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
So this is basically the console here.
What is the name of the console?
Microsoft Deployment Toolkit, or the Deployment Workbench.
Okay. Yeah. Fortunately, I could zoom in with Zoom.
No worries.
Yeah.
No. Take your time.
All right. Deployment Workbench. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. It's actually the real name is MDT, but when you install the software, it's named as Deployment Workbench. So it's kind of like this is your bench, your workstation, where you're building the images.
Were you meaning more like you can't zoom your screen in, like to make it bigger as on?
Yeah, I could zoom in. On the, on the screen and using my 2 fingers.
Ramy might be able to make it a little bit bigger, possibly. Could you?
Let me see. I don't know if I have the ability to.
Okay.
Are you talking about the screen?
Yeah, just your screen, basically. So it's easier for us to view the text.
Let me see if I can. Would this be better?
About the same. I mean, it'd probably be the font size, if anything.
Oh, actually, hold on. Give me a second.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Here.
something like that.
That work?
Yeah, that's
better. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure you guys are able to see correctly. That's all.
Okay.
Let me just maximize here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's because so right now, as you're seeing here, this is the bench. So this is where you would set up all your basic configurations. So like here, this is the application folder. So any of the apps that you have, like if you have Office, Firefox, you would basically have it here so that you can basically deploy it to the image itself. So like the base image would be minimum, and then you deploy on top of what you want installed.
So let me ask you one more question. So first of all, you created the WIM file, right? From an existing Windows computer. What did you use to create it?
The console.
From the
I built
source machine. From the source machine, right?
Yes. Like this is where you can create the image itself, and you can basically deploy it either with Ghost or with Acronis, any other server you can use to deploy. This is more on you build your image to how you want it configured.
Oh, okay, so Windows has a built-in image creation tools to create the WIM file, right?
No, not necessarily. It's well, technically you need ADK in order to do that. ADK is the core needed to be able to service any images that's a WIM image, especially if you want to manipulate files that's in there.
So the deployment workbench is something that's only on servers, not on the source.
No, the deployment bench can be installed on any machine, but to basically set up the actual the files and deployment, you need basically WDS to do it.
Okay, so the WDS again is a service that we need to a feature we need to add to the roles, and then on both the source machine and
yes, the WDS is only for basically the main server. So this is the console here.
Oh, so through the server we grab the source computer if it's available online, and we create an image.
You would build the source, so you would build the image that you need, and then capture, and then you would basically, depending on if you want to let the MDT handle the work, or you can do that from WDS.
I see. So
it really depends.
Okay, I see now. So the WDS would allow us to get the target OS, create the image remotely, and save it somewhere on the network, and then we can later access it to
exactly. So basically, you captured let's say you capture a Windows 10 machine, and then you basically give WDS the image, and then when you go to start up a machine and Pixie boot, with WDS, it's going to say, wait a minute, you're trying to I want deploy a machine. So it's going to ask you, well, okay, then I need to know, are you using Windows 10, WIM, or you're using the boot image? The boot image itself, it all depends on if you're using the MDT or SCCM. So if you see boot image, it's basically MDT or a generic. It could be like either like a WinPE toolkit, like Hirin. It kind of comes out to whichever you use. So if you have a Hirin,
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So if you have like Hirin in a WIM format, you can use that as a boot image.
Okay. Okay. So we're still talking about creating the WIM, right?
Yes. Yeah, so in WDS, there's two different. One's install images, which is what you've captured and you want to deploy with.
I see.
Boot images is anything that you just want to boot, but you're booting to an environment that you want to deploy.
I see. Okay, I see. Like a Hirin or WinPE. I get it. Okay.
Exactly, like you mentioned, Ghost. So if you're launching the Ghost image and you want to go to the directory where it's at.
Okay, I see. And okay, so now you're saying that we can pretty much target a workstation, and we just say, okay, we want to use that image, that OS that is running, create an image out of that. And is there anything that needs to be done on that target OS to allow it to communicate? Because I've seen from my experience that it's
mostly
services.
It's mostly as long as the server is physically online and the IP addresses are all set up correctly. As long as that's done, then when the target OS, the target PC turns on and goes to Pixie, it's going to search. It's going to look for the server.
Okay.
It's going to look for it, and if it finds it, it's going to then ask you, okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to install or do you want to boot? And it's going to give you multiple options.
Okay, so natively, any services that would come into a naturally running OS, without any manipulation on our end or adding or turning on any services on our end, it should just automatically connect, right?
Yeah. As long as you've done all that correctly, what's going to happen is the PC is going to connect to WDS, and then it's going to download the needed files for it to be able to connect to it. And from there, whatever you do is kind of up to you. If you want to run a script, if you want to run something that's specific. So you're basically letting the server know that I want to deploy an image to this computer.
And wouldn't you use like DISM or something like that to?
Yeah, you can also use DISM as well from the server. It doesn't matter, but the thing is, you need at least something at the minimum to point it towards the file. So if you have DISM, then you would tell, okay, I want to deploy, an image that's in X/ this location, but you want to connect to the share first in order to deploy it, basically.
Okay.
So the next step here is basically we're going to import the files for the OS. So what you're going to do is going to right-click, import. We're going to select the full set. Now the key thing is, remember, everything it comes down to where is the file for the OS. If you're using a vanilla OS itself, then you're just going to tell it where it's at. It doesn't matter if it's in the server. It could be in a different server. It's basically you're creating a repository where the entity will be able to list it for you when it comes down to imaging.
Wait, hold on. Could you back up a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, so the type of operating system to use. So what is the difference? I mean, I could get the custom image file. You choose the file, but what is the first one exactly?
The full source. Basically, if you have like the full source of the file, like
the entire installation disk type thing.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. So the media, the Windows 10 media.
Exactly. And the second one is if you already have an image.
Like one you created with all the bells and whistles, tweak just how you want.
But the key thing is it has to be WIM. It cannot be ESD.
Okay.
So if you downloaded the files from the image creation tool, it won't be able to use it. So you have to have WIM files, like WIM. And then the second and the last is the one I showed you.
Okay.
So if you have the image already there, it's going to try and look for it. So I'm going to go at the full set. So let me just get this going here. Yeah, and just so you know, this is the VM, so you're going to be kind of seeing a lot of this happen. You're not playing nice with me for some reason. All right, so I'm going to have to here. So you want to browse to the folder if you know where it's at. If you have the disk array, then you would import it. Now, if you know where it's at, so for mine, I have a folder created for it. So I have always Windows 10 Enterprise and Windows 10 Pro. And then you basically select whichever. So like I'm going to do this. And then it's going to ask you, do you want to move the files to the share instead of copying? So this would be like if you already know, like you just want to move it over. So don't even try don't let it do anything to it. So just keep it the way it is. And then it's going to ask you to be directly named, but you're going to name it. And this is kind of related to you, Emmanuel. So like if you have like a ghost image and you will know what file name it is, you would name it directly, but it's going to create. So for me, I'm going to do this, W10, and I'm going to name it as the following, ENT, and then X64. Now this tells me this is an enterprise version, and this has 64-bit. And then I click next. It's going to confirm that you want to import this file. And that's it. Then it's going to start importing everything into basically our bench, workbench, basically. Does this help you, Daniel?
Yeah. Well, it looks a lot like when you create a Windows recovery image.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you can see there's the install Vim being imported as well. And the files are basically being imported into the bench, but you can manipulate the answer files for it as well.
Yeah, that's
so if you want to set up specific files to it, you can edit the sheets. And all the files here are XML. So you can basically tweak it to how it, and now basically this is imported and it's already recognized what this is. So we have the file name as the, whatever. So what I usually do is I take out all of this and keep it so simple. Windows 10 Enterprise. And then you outside the description, the platform, the build number. So you'll be able to know the latest build that you've downloaded and what type of OS, and the flag. This is an enterprise, and is it available for use, and the GID. If I want to know more, I click on it. I get more information about the OS itself, and it tells you where it's located at.
Oh.
And this is the OS that's been imported. And for you, Daniel, this is part of the DSM2 as well. So you can see the image index. Emmanuel, does this actually help you answer one of your questions?
Yeah, well, you answered it before. Right now, I don't have any new questions, but everything you're saying is crystal clear.
Yeah. So basically, when you're importing the image, it's going to give you the build number. So if you are targeting a specific number, it's going to show up here. So you can have variables that can tell, okay, I want to install the following OS, but with a specific version number that it should be targeting. So you can have basically different settings set up for it. So right now we have the basic, infrastructure of the Windows 10 set up here. So now I'm going to set up the task sequence, or basically the rules for how it's going to build it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on task sequence and select that new task sequence. And here it's going to basically ask a couple of things from you. It's going to want like the ID number of the task. And this will be especially if you're going to do a zero-touch interface, which is basically one click, that's it. Like I don't need to click anything else. I just want to pixie boot, let the server find the task and deploy. No questions.
Like the easiest possible way to deploy a.
Exactly. So the rules are basically you're giving it rules that you want it to follow, but you only want to tell it to do this. I don't want to do anything else.
Right.
So you're basically customizing the settings for what you're going to do. So for this example, I'm going to put W10, and I'm going to put 001 as my task ID. And keep in mind, this will be referenced as well in some of the blog. It's going to tell you about task sequence ID. So you can have a skip task sequence, and then you'll give it the ID number of that task you want to use. So this would be like if you deploy, and then the same thing, I'm going to set up the name of the task sequence. So it'll be Windows 10 build test. And then you can put comments on what is this going to be. You can make comments on it so you can reference later. And then when you click next, it's going to ask you what is your template you're going to use. The first one is the standard client test sequence. Basically, this is a standard straight off. I'm just deploying a machine, nothing else. On top of it is the sysprep and capture. This is the part that you can actually use after you finished setting up all the stuff you need, and you capture that system like how you want it.
Like if you have a system already set up and you're running it, then it.
Like I basically built the server. I built it to how I want it, so I just want to capture it in the current form.
Yeah.
And it will sysprep. It will run the whole J, like the OBs and whatnot. And then the next one is the replace test sequence. So if you have a machine that you're basically swapping out, so I'm replacing maybe a Windows 7 with a Windows 10. So I'm replacing. And then the same thing, upgrade. So I'm going from upgrade from a 7 or whatever to 10. So I'm backup files, and then I'm running it to upgrade the software on it. And then
can I ask you guys a random question?
Yeah.
With system prep, do you normally run system prep when you are going to create your image, or do you just leave it the way it is?
Well, system prep, from what I understand, like removes any like personalizations you might have put on there while creating that certain one. Like say you logged in as your user and da 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 da, and sysprep just removes all that, so it's deployable for all these other machines. Isn't that what it does?
Yes, basically sysprep it prepares the system to be captured, to like kind of get rid of anything that's on there, like your name and whatnot. It clears everything and basically prepare it.
Yeah, I understand with that, and like especially if you're gonna be installing it in new hardware too, like incompatible hardware. I understand that part. Like it gives it a new SID and wipes out the users and all that.
Okay.
But I work at a computer lab, right? And I've noticed that the system prep images weren't as great as the standard Windows 10 images, right? And I noticed that even because like what I do is that instead of running the system prep, I just clean out all the users, get rid of anything that might, be to track back to a particular to the original setup, and clear the browser histories and all that. And also each user is gonna have their own profile, right? So it's being created a new profile is being created for them anyways. But
exactly. So basically, just to clear thing out. So basically, when you actually have everything ready to go, you would run the sysprep on the system, and then it's going to basically like start the sequence. But this is only if you're running it in unattended. So
if
you're running in the unattended mode, like if you're logged in auto attend. So if you've logged in as the administrative user, then you'll be able to generate the system to where you can start the sequence. So you probably know how to get into the unattended, correct?
No, I'm not sure.
It's Control Shift Alt and then F3. This is right around the OOB dialog the box that comes up.
Oh, to initiate the system prep?
Yeah, to initiate like to prepare the system. Like if you're going to
I usually go to the system 32 folder and just start it from there. I didn't know about
this would be before you even run the OBE itself.
Okay,
so this will be like after you install the OS, you want to just basic Control Shift and then basically to launch under the administrative rights, and that would basically let you set up the whatever you need on there, like the Office, Firefox, wherever you want that image to have, and then only then you can start the sysprep.
Okay, could you repeat that? Because that's new to me. You said that it was the Shift what?
Like Control Alt Shift and then F3.
Oh. Okay.
That's the sequence you would use on OOBE, the out-of-box experience.
Oh yeah, I know how to. Yeah, I usually do that through the actual.
Like basically audit mode, per se.
Okay.
So this is basically audit mode.
I didn't know about that command in particular, but I am familiar with the OBE.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This is like when you do that, you're initiating the audit mode where you're basically configuring the system to where what you want it to be at.
Okay. So going back to my original question, which was, do you find it useful to run system prep in your environment or from your experience, or do you just do it
It's
without
really
it?
it comes down to like if I'm doing it for more than 4 machines.
Okay. If it's more than 4, you would sys prep?
Yeah, I mean, if it's more than 4, like if it's like 6 or whatever, then I'll just have a task sequence created for that to do it. But if I'm having 2 machines, I just simply use the OS images I have and not bother using MDT. Because remember, MDT is for basically up to whatever amount of machines you have. So it doesn't matter if you have 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't care. It doesn't discriminate whatever you have. It only knows that you want to deploy an image.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So the second, you have basic custom task sequence. This is basically you create the rules. This is where you create your own rules of what you want to do to this task. So think of the tasks as basically the rules you wanted to follow. Like you mentioned, sys prep.
I'm sorry to interrupt one more time.
No
Because
problem.
I do have to leave in a few minutes.
Okay.
I only had 1 hour to really put for the meeting.
No worries.
But
You can come back. Like I'm gonna be running this pretty much next week.